Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. Busy show this morning. Got a couple of different things that we are getting into. You know, traditionally Wednesdays, if Dylan Butler can make it at 10 o'clock, we have Dylan come in to talk about things in Major League Soccer and maybe a little Newcastle and maybe some commiserating with Maddie. Maddie Crewsing on the ones and twos, as she always is here this morning. 10:30. Ian Cameron, head coach of South Georgia Tormenta. They are opening up camp tomorrow. And so we'll catch up with Ian about the offseason, USL League One, how tough it is, and what the roster is looking like, because there has been some turnover down there in Statesboro. And so we'll be getting into that coming up at 10:30 this morning, and we will catch up with Ian there. Maddie's going to hop on about a half hour or so, and we're going to go over what happened in the Prem yesterday, get you ready for what's happening in the Prem today. 5 matches yesterday. You had your share of stupidness. That's the official word. Craziness yesterday. Luton Town putting up a big number, shocking number against Brighton. Back and forth game involving Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Got a couple of matches today. We'll get into that. 47 shots with Fulham and Everton. Nothing into the back of the net. So shared result there, and that's what I get for not starting James Tarkowski on my fantasy team. And then, like I said, we'll work our way backward. We have some stuff that happened last night in CONMEBOL qualifying that we'll go through, and we have an update on a former Atlanta United player and his new change of address. And so now, happy 5-year Miggyversary. I know that was popping up in my what you call it, the Facebook, the Facebook memories thing, the sit down interview with Major League Soccer at the time. So 5 years. And Del, we will be getting into that. Yeah, we will be getting into his 3-letter word with an exclamation point. Morning, Alex, as well. Morning, Del. And we'll get you ready for everything coming up in short order. But last night, let's do opening kickoff. We'll go ahead and do opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us, however you are doing so, whether it is on our YouTube channel, whether it is on our Twitch pitch, or if you're on the 280-character app live. Start your day. You kick off your day maybe with Kickoff Coffee, just a thought. And use that QR code. You get 15% off. Use the code Soccer down here 15. You will get 15% off. They, in turn, at Kickoff Coffee, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I don't know how many of you have FS2. Really don't know. Sometimes FS2 morning forecard, FS2 kind of hovers in the nether regions of cable television and things like that. So if you've got like basic cable, like I do, and you get the super hyper mega cable sports package, you get to kind of see things. Now, the 3-letter network has decided that they were more going to be events-based than they were going to be any other kind of programming or things like that. So as they go events-based on FS2, you get to see some cool stuff. And I mean, there's been like French Cup and things like that they'll show in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday. But what they've been showing is the Olympic qualifying out of CONMEBOL. And it's 10 teams, 2 groups, and it is top 4 that are moving on. They had round 4, 5, what have you, yesterday. Actually, it was round 5. So round 5 in Group A, round 4 in Group B. So Group B yesterday with Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, Chile, and Peru, they had their 2 matches. And round 4 starts with Uruguay shutting out Peru 3-0. Peru's at the bottom of the table after 4 matches, 3 points. And they are the same with Chile on goal difference because of what happened with Chile in their match with Argentina. Some guy that you might know had a bit of a day. He had a bit of a day. So, Thiago Almada, and this is kind of the cool thing about, like I said, FS2 showing the CONMEBOL qualifiers, is you get to see Thiago Almada and Valentin Barco. Like I said, we have espoused the virtues of Valentin Barco for a while as he's heading to Brighton after the tournament. Thiago had himself a day yesterday, and it started out bright and early for Argentina. And until you start watching the match, you don't realize that someone familiar is in net on the other side. Here's goal number 1 for Thiago Almada, courtesy of our friends at FS2.
Passes there to Castro, who can't control the ball. Barker wants it, takes the shot on goal. Reyes once again for the goal. What an amazing finish! It was no other than the captain, Thiago Almada from Atlanta United, playing for Argentina. When Argentina couldn't make it on the first ball, the captain there, never giving up, gives us this spectacular finish.
Wasting no time, makes it 1-0, put it in the roof of the net. Did you notice who the play-by-play commentator said, play-by-play announcer said was in net for the opposition, for Chile? Let's see if she announces it again, because Thiago Almada was not done. Went from 1-0 to 2-0. Once again, courtesy of our friends at FS2.
Referee giving the last instructions. Thiago Almada goes in for the goal. It's Thiago Almada! Oh, what a goal! What an amazing finish for Argentina. It's just stunning. It's spectacular. It's just Thiago Almada doing what he knows best. What a great goal. What a great way to start this second stage for Argentina. Look at that hug.
2-0. Argentina was not done. Thiago Almada was not done, although he did not get the hattie, and there were not fans throwing hats onto the turf at this particular tournament. Argentina was not done. Thiago Almada was not done. It was not a goal, but it led to a third.
There with the touches. Once again, Thiago Almada with the dribbles. Going to try to make the pass. An amazing goal from Argentina. What a play. What a goal. What a goal from Santiago Castro. What a pass from Thiago Almada. What a run they made. What an amazing play. It was impressive. Argentina has become unstoppable against Chile.
And that wasn't the end of it, but you end up with 3 on the board at that point, and finishes up 5. Vicente Reyes was in net for that. So Vicente Reyes got to turn around 5 times and pull the ball out of the back of the net. And that's why Chile and Peru, Chile having played one less match, right now they're both tied, but Chile, because of, once again, one less match having been played, they're ahead of Peru in the standing. So Argentina starts off with the draw with Paraguay in Group B in the CONMEBOL pre-Olympic tournament to determine who's going and who ain't. And so Argentina, Paraguay, 2 wins and a draw in their first 3 matches. Argentina's up +7 in goal difference right now. Paraguay is at +2. Uruguay is third in the group with 3 points ahead of Chile and Peru on goal difference. In Group A, Brazil, no real surprise. It is 3 wins on the spin for them, 9 points. They've only given up the 1 goal in 3 matches. Ecuador right now is second, but they've played the 4th match in their group. They're at 7 points. Venezuela's at 5. Vamos, Venezuela! And Bolivia's at 1 point. Colombia has not scored a goal in the tournament. They are 0 scored, 6 allowed, 0-3 out of the blocks. And we will tomorrow get round 5 in Group A with Venezuela, Brazil, Colombia, and Bolivia happening simultaneously. And so we'll see what FS2 decides that they want to do with both of those matches and who gets what, where, and when. So there you go. Big day for Thiago Almada against Vicente Reyes. So that was interesting last night for those of you that got to watch it on FS2. The other note this morning at opening kickoff, it looks like Joseph Martinez has a home. It's Barcelona of Ecuador. That note came out yesterday, so it looks like Joseph might be heading to Barcelona of Ecuador to start next season. So we got that. So that's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, thanks to Abby, who's back with us after a prolonged absence. Thanks to Abby, that's a better QR code than the one I put together. I banished my QR code. I literally threw it in the trash. So that's your QR code for our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, let's get you into the news of the day. And I know that some of this may not necessarily surprise you, but because of what Dell already announced with exclamation points, let's go here. And when it's a here we go, you know it's a here we go. Fabrizio Romano has said that the destination for our buddy Gio Reyna is now officially official. It is Nottingham Forest. And so Nottingham Forest ends up with Gio Reyna. Fabrizio Romano reporting that this morning, a couple of hours ago. Gio Reyna, here we go. Agreement sealed with Borussia Dortmund on a loan deal. And Nottingham Forest is going to cover Gio Reyna's salary until June. That'd be a cute trick. Nuno is pushing to sign him. Deal now in place also with his agent, Jorge Mendes. Medical tests also booked. So with Gio Reyna, and this was not the only move that Nottingham Forest made this morning, I would recommend for those of you that have WhatsApp, the Athletic and their staff, David Ornstein et al., they have a WhatsApp group for the transfer window. And so you get to get all the latest when it comes to transfers from Ornstein and him. But Gio Reyna, now remember, Jorge Mendes and the owner of Nottingham Forest, Evangelinas Marinakis, they're pretty tight. And, this is not the first time that Mendes would have wanted to steer players to Marinakis. He helped Marinakis secure the ownership of Rio Ave. So, once again, not a surprise that anyone attached to Jorge Mendes is being encouraged, in quotation marks. And yes, I did just use air quotes for those of you that are just listening. Once again, encouraged Gio Reyna to go to Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest needs all the help that they can get, and we will see what happens. Emilio, Gio with Nuno's style is helpful how? That's the big question. Gio with Nuno's style is helpful how? Think about Nuno. Unless Nuno has learned something in his time in the Middle East and the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote, he's still, Nottingham Forest is scoring goals despite Nuno stylistically. Unless Nuno just looked at the roster and was like, just let him go. It's you boy. So with Nuno currently being Nuno, Gio being Gio, I don't know how this is going to work. Dell with Nick reporting that Fiorentina's interest pushed Forest to move. Yeah, and the thing is that Forest, they got a boogie, but the thing is about Forest, remember, Nottingham Forest is still hovering in the FFP zone. And that's not a friend zone that you want to be in. So they've got to keep an eye on things, and that's why this is a loan to the end of the season. So it's just something cheap they can do, but then they can figure out, okay, end of the year, who do we want to jettison if we want to keep Gio, those kinds of things. Dell, let's take a peek real quick. Dell wants to know if Nottingham Forest has 3 up top. And with what happened in the Prem yesterday, as Nick calls it, with a pinned league, Nottingham Forest. Let's have to check back to the weekend. And nothing like folks not cooperating with the scores and things. All right, so Sheffield United, Man City, Burnley, Tottenham, previous. I'm gonna have to go previous. All right, so we'll click back twice. No, I don't want to know about SoundCloud in the pop-up window. And this is the other thing that I hate. It's like, I'm trying to get some work done, and our friends at SofaScore decided they want a pop-up window right before. No, I didn't click that. I did not click that. I love how this is. It's like they're just trying to be confusing with me here. All right, so Forest and Man United. Let's go back a little bit. Forest and Man United, when they played, and Forest beat Man United, and no, that is not what I hit. I don't care about that. It's like all these pop-up windows getting in the way. All right, so lineups. Lineup for Forest It looks like it's a 4-2-3-1. So take it for whatever it is. When they beat Manchester United, Montiel, Niakate, Murillo, and Ola Aina were at the back. Ryan Yates and Danilo playing in front of them. Attacking midfielders, Anthony Elanga, Morgan Gibbs White, Nicholas Dominguez, and Chris Wood up top. So part of that firepower, so it's a 4-2-3-1. So that's what you're staring at with Nottingham Forest. Not three up top. Yes, John is talking to his computer because his computer is not behaving. The computer is not doing what I want it to do. When I click on a button, I want it to go to where I click, not to the pop-up window that is allegedly just kind of casting a shadow in front of everything, and then you click the window, and it takes you to an ad for something that I don't want or that I've already got. So that's what you're – and the winger – the wingers push up. So, as D. Graham says, they play a 4-2-3-1. But so 4-2-3-1, and we always talk about this with formations. Formations, they look pretty on a page. But with Dell's point, you line up in a 4-2-3-1, wingers push up, you end up with three. The guys who are protecting the back line of four push up ends up like a 4-3-3, something like that. So 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, take your pick. But we'll see what Gio and Nuno can come up with the same page. So morning, Tom. Good to have you in this morning. Michael Valverde, after the opening kickoff. If interest in Almada's not peaked today, he ain't going nowhere until summer. Well, yeah, and you've got today, and then the 7-hour extravaganza that is deadline day. And once again, for those of you who have Peacock, you can hang out and watch that and be just completely and totally glued to your seat like I will in a situation like that. So the app account for Athletic, the WhatsApp account is, hang on just a second, Abby. Abby is asking for a public service announcement. So let me see if I can find it quickly. Nothing like workshopping WhatsApp here. So it's not in The Athletic Insiders is what it is. The Athletic Insiders is the WhatsApp group. And Nottingham Forest can do this with Gio Reyna because they have a financial package with Lyon reaching agreement in principle for Mangala that could be worth up to $30 million. Proposal would see Forest almost trebling the money they paid to recruit him from Stuttgart 18 months ago when they only paid 10.5. So Oral Mangala out, Gio Reyna in. That is not the only one that they have secured today. They've reached an agreement with Sporting Lisbon for 18-year-old Rodrigo Ribeiro. Deals loan with an option to buy could become an obligation package, be worth up to 10. So right now you've got 10 out, Reyna in, or 10 outbound, 30 inbound, 35 inbound, and Gio Reyna. So right now you're still kind of working, if you're Nottingham Forest, in that minus, and that's what you've got to work on, considering that the FFP police are coming after you right now. So once again, The Athletic Insiders on WhatsApp. That's what has been lighting a fire under folks this morning. And so we'll see what happens there. Ronaldo is out for the Miami friendly, according to our friends at Goal. Cristiano Ronaldo is last, so we don't get to see CR38 and Messi and friends after all. We don't get to see it. Out for the Riyadh season Cup clash, which is supposed to be tomorrow. Luis Castro gave the injury update just a little bit ago. Messi and friends are taking on Al Nassr after the 4-3 chaos that happened against Al Hilal. CR38 is here's how our friends at goal.com reference what CR38 is going through. He is nursing a muscle complaint. Nursing a muscle complaint. If you have a muscle complaint, how does a muscle complain to you? Yo, fam, I ain't working. Or do you just like stop as a person? And the muscle looks up at you and you're like, nope. So CR38 is nursing a muscle complaint, according to Luis Castro, still not fit to return to action. for the side, quoting Luis Castro, quote, because if you quote him and you don't say quote, then you're not quoting him. We will not see it, meaning Messi versus Ronaldo. Ronaldo's in the final part of his recovery to join the group. We hope that in the next few days you can start working with the team. He will be absent from the game. So there'll be no CR38 and Ronaldo and Messi. Darn the luck. So we have that in news this morning. Once again, coming up in about 10, 15 minutes or so, Maddie Crewsing on the ones and twos. She'll come in. We'll do Prem and Proper. Apparently, refs in the Premier League can now explain to fans about VAR. And if you were watching, once again, if you were watching CONMEBOL, if you were watching, it was Messi and Friends. If you're watching Messi and Friends in the first round of Riyadh season, you had center ref step up to the end line after looking at VAR and make the announcement. The only thing missing in that is like we were talking about it in our production chat. The only thing missing is like the music in the intro to the beginning of the segments of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You remember that where you've got Reg or Meredith Vieira and the guest trying to win $1 million. And they're seated and they're ready, and you hear the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and you get the music and the lights shine down. The spotlight shines down right to the center of the stage, and then the lights come back up, and you start the questions. That's the only thing that you were missing in Messi and Friends and Al Hilal. Center F steps up to the end line, makes the announcement, calls the penalty. That's what you needed. You needed the lights to go dark. You needed a spotlight. You needed the music to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You needed Center F to make the decision. And then you have and then the lights come back up, and then you go to penalty. That's the only thing that was missing. And I bet you they would have done it too if they'd figured out how to do it. So that's what you got. So Maddie's got some news on that. We'll go over what happened yesterday in the Premier League. Anything else that is striking the relative fancies of everyone when it comes to life in the Prem. Once again, if Dylan Butler, the busiest man in show business in the Northeast, can join us at 10. He'll join us at 10. Ian Cameron joining us at 10:30. If you join us at 11:30, we'd be off the air. Ian Cameron at 10:30 talking South Georgia Tormenta. So that's the busy show this morning. Dell, Ronaldo's scared. CR38 is scared. He absolutely is. Dell, Nick's going to be very sad about the Ronaldo news. Yeah, and I can sense the sadness through all of our equipment, and I know you can too. I think 7:00 Emilio. In the summer because of time change. D. Graham says 6. It's 6:00. The other transfer time, but because of time change, it's 7. I think it might be. Well, crap. Hang on. Transfer deadline. So there's one of them that's messed up because of a time change. And okay, so January transfer window in England closes at 11, so that's 6:00. So there you go. So yes, it is 6:00. D. Graham is correct. 6:00 local time. 6:00 here, meaning local, but 11:00 there. 11:00 there. So that's where we are. But all the chaos that's going on with all of that stuff. So there we go. All right. So what else is going on this morning? The PSRA. And like I said, we're doing a bunch of greatest hits and things. Thank you. 5-hour time difference, 2300 the deadline. And they're doing the extra hour to discuss and talk and discuss. All right. So PSRA came out with a second statement. Like I said, we're catching up with a bunch of odds and ends here before we end up with Maddie and Prem and Proper and 10:00 and with Dylan and 10:30 with Ian Cameron. So the PSRA, we know that the PSRA has until today to figure things out. Are you or are you not going to be involved, engaged? Are you gonna hang out past today, or are you going to go on strike? So the PSRA came out with an open letter to our referee community, and it's a long letter. So we'll see if we can get the greatest hits in here. Encouraged by the hundreds of text, emails, and phone calls received from the referee community, clear everyone's united together, and your messages continue to motivate us as we move forward with negotiations. Thank you. PSRA answers to the officials, works to resolve your issues about safety, working conditions, and financial concerns. Anyone assigned to an MLS preseason game and game prior to February 21st should feel free to work the game. If a work stoppage exists for MLS officials at some point, we'll have more communication with everyone regarding regular season games, but working preseason games is not an issue. Okay, so preseason games in pro, not an issue, or in PSRA is not an issue. Those matches will help prepare you for your upcoming seasons. We want you to be ready for opening weekend of those leagues. Pro has allegedly started making some phone calls and asking officials about future availability for MLS regular season matches. This may be a conversation that seems vague and includes phrases such as, "We have a training camp for new pro refs coming up. Would you be interested? We're expanding the MLS roster at this time. Are you available for this season? Congratulations. We want to welcome you into pro for the 2024 MLS season." Those were in italics, by the way. And now, in bold-faced letters, PSRA came out in the second letter and said, "Please understand this is pro's way of getting you closer to working as a replacement referee if there is a work stoppage. We encourage you to prepare as you usually would for your upcoming season, including attending all training webinars. We urge you to comply with all of pro's usual training requests, yet also be aware of how the ask from them may change in the coming days and weeks. As we have stated before, the pro staff are good, decent people. They are our former colleagues. Our friendships with them have not changed. They were PSRA members in 19 and 14 during those CBA negotiations, our 24 pro preseason camp, positive and professional. In the same breath, please understand that they serve a different stakeholder in their current role. If they're forced by MLS to try to find short-term replacements to open the MLS season, they understand it's an unfortunate, personally painful part of their current role. We have no reason to believe they will issue threats, ultimatums, or even innuendos. As such, you should feel empowered to respond politely as needed. Apologies, but I'm not available to work any potential MLS assignments. I am unavailable. Thank you for your consideration. Unfortunately, I'm not available in this situation." Once again, all those were in italics. Those were the suggested responses by PSRA if pro reached out. Our ask: please stand in solidarity with your officiating colleagues and consider other assignment options. In 23, officials who work in NWSL, USL, and Next Pro ratified a first and historic CBA with pro. So, maybe we'll see folks working in those places if they're not in Major League Soccer. These standards have a trickle-down effect on all officials working those leagues. Those standards in the CBA become uniform across the league. And they talk about the PSRA. They talk about solidarity. But, yes, the PSRA Executive Board. Poshel Penso, Chris Penso, Jonathan Johnson, Jeremy Hansen, Jason White, Matt Franz. So they've given possible responses to check interest. This may be a conversation that seems vague. It includes phrases such as, "We have a training camp. Would you be interested?" And then I love the responses. "Apologies." Who starts a response with apologies these days? I don't. "Apologies, but I'm not available to work. I'm unavailable. Thank you for your consideration." That, and unfortunately, I'm not available. Maybe if somebody uses two of those, if somebody uses two of those, then I think you're right there. If you use all three, then you're kind of being patronizing in your response. "I'm unavailable. Thank you for your consideration. Unfortunately, I'm not available in this situation." You use those two in concert, you're fine. But then if you drop that third one, then you're being patronizing. So PSRA is requesting or encouraging their charges to respond in a certain way. So, yeah, PSRA came out with a second letter since today is the deadline, at least for now. But you can work preseason. That's cool. But then you might want to work other leagues because of what went down in the other leagues with the other agreements. Ricky, have we sold Almada for dump truck some money yet? The answer is no. Abby was right on it. She was ahead of me. So Ricky's going to check back in a half hour during Dylan Butler. Have we sold Almada yet? Literally, I think Ricky is going to open a door every 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes. Hey, did we sell Almada yet? Nope. Okay, close the door. Come back a half hour later. Hey, did we sell Almada yet? Nope. Okay, close the door. No option to buy, according to Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. No option to buy. Part of the negotiations that got removed today. A smart deal for Dortmund as the players extended his contract from 25 and 26. So basically, this is a rental. This is a rental for Nottingham Forest. Rental. Absolutely. Interesting note from Dell, who's keeping an eye. Dell, I think, has Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert on the notifications because it's okay. And since Tommy Scoops, yeah, and I think the price increased or the number increased, but it doesn't mean that you can't get a percentage of the pass if it ends up being lower. But I think as since Tommy Scoops labeled it as such. News from the Purple team. Finalizing a deal, Blackburn Rovers. So if you were mad that they beat Wrexham, you might be even more mad because Blackburn Rovers is actually spending some of that Vinky's chicken money on Duncan Maguire. Sources, according sources, because we all know that folks have sources. $4 million plus $2.5 million in add-ons, and Orlando gets a percentage of the pass. So you got that. Literally. Okay, so Blackburn knocks on your door. Yeah, no doubt. Dell says Dunk's going to be mad that he missed his chance to be in Welcome to Wrexham Season 3. Just missed out. So Bogert says it's not totally done, but Maguire just departed camp to travel to England. So Blackburn Rovers and Duncan Maguire last season, Duncan Maguire, we know how much of a pain in the what Duncan Maguire was for teams in the Eastern Conference. $4 million plus $2.5 million in add-ons, and Orlando gets a percentage of the pass. And Blackburn just made a $22 million sale as well, according to D. Graham. And so Blackburn is living it right now. Blackburn is on fire right now. They are getting folks. They're ditching and getting and making money. Luton's interested in Tyrese Dolan at Blackburn. 2 + 2 in 18 appearances. The former U20 winger, 6 months left on his deal. There's an option to extend it to a further deal. Jesse Lingard missed out on a deal to Saudi Arabia. Al-Shabaab, remember they had until 4 o'clock Eastern time yesterday afternoon to come up with a deal. Couldn't happen. So according to FIFA, global transfer spending smashed a new record, $7.6 billion on international transfer fees in 2023. 5.1, that wasn't the highest, 5.8 in 2019. 7.6 billion in transfer fees in pounds. So folks are spending, but this year specifically, when it comes to spending in the Premier League, it's down by about 90%. down by about 90%. It was like 600 to 62 or something like that. So you're staring at that. And by the way, Aberdeen, we always like to keep an eye on Aberdeen. I did not see Paul Scholes trolling Jesse Lingard on Instagram. He probably wouldn't be the only one. Did you see Aberdeen fired Barry Robson? As we always like to sit there and keep track of Aberdeen after how the ownership decided to panic and fired Stephen Glass. Aberdeen announced they parted ways with Barry Robson and his assistant Steve Agnew, signed a 2-year deal in the summer, got him to third in the Premiership during an interim spell in charge, which is where you should be, if not chasing after second. However, they sit 8th in the table at present, and they've just won 6 of 21. First-team coach Peter Levin will lead the team in the interim, assisted by Scott Anderson. We mentioned the Rodrigo signing. Blackbird's closing in on signing defender Kyle McFadzean on a short-term deal toward the end of the year. Carlos Alcaraz, you want to talk about somebody who's going to make some money. Southampton might be making some money on Carlos Alcaraz, up to $45 million with Juve. Chelsea turned down a move on Armando Broja. Broja! That's a joke waiting to happen. I think it is still a thing. Dell, the game in Athens is this weekend. It's this Saturday. And afterwards, reminder, Creature Comforts, 6 to 8, post-game show on SDH. You'll be able to take part in that. If you're in Athens, drop by. If you're near Athens, drop by. If you're at the game, come back by after. So I'll have the post-game show at Creature Comforts from 6 to 8, discussing Atlanta and Memphis 901. The game will be streamed, Dell, on the team website at atlutd.com. Mike and Jason will have the call there. And you'll have pre and post on 92.9 The Game. And then after everything, then it's Creature Comforts in Athens from like 6 to 8 for the post-game show there. So you got that. But Duncan McGuire heading over to Blackburn Rovers in the championship for 4 + 2.5. All right. Let's bring in Maddie Crewsing from the ones and twos, and we'll discuss what happened in the Premier League yesterday. Handful of matchups, Maddie, and Emilio, there is a bit of a relationship. It's still a thing. It doesn't feel like it. Well, when, you kind of like dispose of folks that were vital to success, then, it kind of sours a little bit. But, yeah, Atlanta's still attached to Aberdeen. 30,000-foot view of what happened in the 5 matches yesterday.
Ooh, I thought it was a really good day of Premier League. It was also kind of nice because it was at like a time where I actually could like watch most of the games, which I liked. I don't know if Premier League necessarily liked it, but I enjoyed it. So I liked the times.
Staggered time.
But, it makes sense because I'm really bad at math. What time would that be at like?
At 5.
Oh, then that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it wasn't like, midnight kicks or anything like that. Like you're waiting for tickets outside the Ticketmaster outlet, or you're waiting outside the record store for your favorite band to show up.
Okay, well that's not bad. That's not bad. Well, first of all I have to say is
yeah, here it comes.
I take back everything I said. Go Newcastle. We rock. I am so happy. You don't understand. And also, apparently, from what I'm reading, and literally this could change within the next like hour or two, but from what I'm hearing, Almiron is currently staying with Newcastle.
Right.
That is what I heard. That is the rumor that's circulating. But again, it is the transfer window. It could end today. And literally in the next hour, I say this, he could be gone to Saudi Arabia. So,
well, actually, he can't go to Saudi. That got shut down yesterday at 4. So it would be Europe or this way. Saudi Arabia got shut down at 4 o'clock yesterday.
Amazing.
So Europe elsewhere or this way. Those are the only 2 directions for Miguel, and same for Thiago. Thiago would be outbound to Europe. And there are some other places that have extended windows like Russia and Turkey and things like that. But big window is closing. And so Della's asking about the Isak injury.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I was hoping that no one would bring it up. But yeah, I mean, it's so from what I'm looking at, it's an injury scare.
Okay.
it was a muscle issue picked up against the one at Austin Villa. So it's supposed to be an injury scare. It shouldn't be like a huge thing from what I'm reading, but also too, it might be something, like from what Eddie Howe, what I'm reading from him, it is saying we don't know when he'll be back. It doesn't look too serious. It looks like a slight groin issue, but fingers crossed we get him back quickly. But again, it's just the never-ending cycle that is the Newcastle injury plague that is just, crushing us. And it's why is it conveniently every time a player is getting really good and really hot and then they get injured? Breaks my heart.
Right at the end of a transfer window, obviously.
Oh, yeah, right at the end of the transfer window. Now they can't bring anybody in. It's convenient. It's great.
Yes. Eddie Howe said there's nothing to the Callum Wilson rumors. Folks allegedly, possibly, probably were like AC Milan were chasing after him. Eddie Howe said nothing to it. Miggy played yesterday, caught and I don't know if it was just fatigue in general or he did catch a bit of a knock, but in the 77th, he came up a little slowly and kind of had to walk his way through the rest of the match. So we'll keep an eye on Miggy. Abby, good to see you. Thanks a lot. Got to go have it. So she's got her own deadline. She's got her own deadline day. Dell had Fabian Schär on his bench. Yeah. I had Fabian Schär earlier in the year, but then when everything started to fade, I pulled him and put in Tarkovsky. And I didn't start Tarkovsky yesterday on my fantasy team. So there you go. Okay. So it looks like you might be eyeing a move for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. That's from the 4-letter paper. They stepped away from a deal for Calvin Phillips. Then you may have to sell Joe Ellington in the summer. And he wants Kieran Trippier, Miggy, and Callum Wilson to stay. But the 18 million pound bids, according to the 3-letter paper, are tempting, although at the moment nothing seems to be happening when it comes to the Premier League in and of itself. Also, yesterday, we got 3 matches today that we'll get into coming up in just a little bit. Crystal Palace and chaos with Sheffield United. And then, of course, the two top stars and goal scorers both end up injured for Roy Hodgson. Olise and Eze both score, and they're both injured, but Crystal Palace got a big 3 points, knocking off Sheffield United 3-2.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's great for Crystal Palace that they came through and were able to do that, especially in a game like that. Sheffield United scored within the first minute of the game. So, it already seemed like hope was lost. Then they scored again at the 20th. It wasn't until, I lied. I just read that completely wrong. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. It was back and forth. So it was Sheffield United scored, then it was Crystal Palace, then it was back to Sheffield, then it went back to Crystal Palace. So it was tied 2-2 at the beginning of the half. And then you go into the second half. After halftime, Crystal Palace obviously came up with that huge goal in the 67th minute. So it was a good game. I liked that game. It was hard because I had to balance because I believe like half of those 4 games started at the same time.
There were. You had the Forest and Arsenal, and Nottingham Forest loses 2-1 to Arsenal. That started at 2:30. You had the 2 at 2:45, the 1 at 3, and the 1 at 3:15. So you had 4 of the 5 matches going on at once, and then Newcastle and Villa was the late one.
Yeah, because it was also difficult too, is because Peacock has a weird thing where some of the games will be streamed all on Peacock, but then some of them won't be.
Yep.
So I was struggling with trying to find access to a couple of them. So I watched almost a good chunk of the Arsenal Nottingham Forest match. And then I watched a little bit of Fulham and Everton, but then the other 2, I really wasn't able to see anything from it. So I really just had to watch highlights afterwards and just kind of hope that I got the full gist of the game.
Yep.
Same thing with Newcastle. I was getting live updates as I was going.
You didn't flip to USA to watch that one?
I don't have cable.
Oh, no.
I know it's troubling. It's really bad, but I think my roommate has direct stream, so I'm going to steal that from her very soon.
Luton put 4 on Brighton. That was the big shock of the day yesterday.
Absolutely.
At the Kenny at Kenilworth Road, 4-0 over Brighton. Luton at a plus 322 in your juice boxes. That puts them currently, as we stare at the standings, out of the relegation zone. Everton is in it because of the goalless draw they had with Fulham, 46 shots and nothing in the back of the net for either team. And so Luton is out of the relegation zone right now. Everton have drawn their last 2. and they're in the relegation zone. Luton's at 19 points. Forest has lost 2 in a row after Nuno came in and got new coach bounce, and they've lost 2 in a row. They're at 20 points. Brentford snapped that horrendous 7 of 8 streak with a win last time out. They're at 22. Palace is at 24. Bournemouth and Fulham at 25. So that's basically group number 3. 7 teams, 7 points for that last relegation spot right now.
Well, I mean, also, too, if you're looking at Everton, you didn't want to tie against Fulham, especially with everything going on, and especially with the matchups that you have coming up.
Mm-hmm.
This Saturday, they play against the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a hard game. Then, February 10th, next week, they play Man City.
Good luck on that one.
And then, they get a little bit of a grace with Crystal Palace, but Crystal Palace is also hot right now. Like they don't have a good stretch of games coming up. So you kind of needed that win to get you up there. And now they're fighting relegation. And, that's not good. Obviously the point deductions, all that be aside. But I mean, you still have to battle that through. And I mean, watching the Fulham game in Everton, I mean, I'll say it was really boring.
Yeah. I mean, you can have those that are up there. Today, Manchester City hosting Burnley at the Etihad. No surprise, Manchester City's at a minus 909. Burnley, if you have some spare juice boxes, is a plus 2248. Although
Wow.
I'd say keep your juice boxes. The draw is a plus 1019. Spurs hosting Brentford at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at a minus 147. Brentford is a plus 373 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. But the match of the day, Liverpool and Chelsea at 3:15, and apparently, and I know this will surprise everybody, that this final season of Jurgen Klopp is being followed by a documentary crew that is going to produce something once the season's over, I guess in time for the beginning of next season. But who knew who knew a documentary crew would be chasing after the tail end of the career at Liverpool of Jurgen Klopp? I'm shocked, I say. Liverpool at a minus 159. And Chelsea will just spend more money to get out of the problem at a plus 396. So that's your
absolutely.
That's your activity today. So since
it was funny, I didn't know if you were going to mention the Liverpool thing or if I was going to have to, because I was going to say it, but then you said it for me, so it worked out.
Oh, come on! I mean, it's Liverpool, and it's the last elements of a particular season. So
absolutely.
Well, why would you not have, and why would you not be surprised if there's a documentary crew that is following Liverpool around? But as always, I want to know how much of this is documentary and how much of this is staged / scripted when it comes to all of the elements here. How much access are these folks going to have?
Absolutely.
Is it going to be like, big A cameras, or is it going to be like small things that have absolute, is it going to be like the small cameras that we like take our still photos with that they can actually do multiple things these days? Or is it going to be big A cameras with a bunch of microphones and lights and things like that? How structured is this going to be?
Yeah. And I mean, I just especially with how Klopp is handling the situation too, I'm shocked that if he agreed to it, I'm like, that would shock me more than anything. So I'm like, I don't know what access they're going to have to everything going on behind the scenes, or is it just going to be documenting like each game and they're just going to be there and documenting how the season turns around, or how that's going to work? I'm interested to see what they do with it, because I doubt that they have like full access.
Full access.
Exactly. Like, I don't think they're going to be getting any sort of special, like, exclusive. Klopp's not leaving. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, I'm just confused.
I think I would change my mind at the end of the season and we would go in a different direction. There's your cliffhanger. See you later,
Yeah, this is all a lie.
It's like Dallas, the season that the Dallas dream season, and you wake up in the end and Jurgen Klopp is talking to his wife in the bathroom. Morning, honey.
Yeah. They're going to make a little sitcom about it, and it's going to be like, I fooled all of you.
Yes. Tom, Everton desperately missed Doucouré and also have no one who can finish. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is terrible, and Arnaud Danjuma is utterly useless. All right, so
oh no.
So Tom is one of our resident Evertonians, and
I knew we had a couple of them. I knew we did. So I was like, listen, I was like, I didn't want to dish too hardly on them, but like it sucks. They've been dealt a weird hand, especially with everything going on. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I like it's a hard line to cross. You have all those, all of the point deduction. That obviously does not help. And I mean, especially they get the point deduction and everyone's talking about it. The fact that Man City has still yet to have anything delivered to them.
The size of the lawyer and the willingness of the legal teams to go digging to find loopholes.
Exactly. And it also doesn't help that like the team just doesn't seem willing to fight either. Like I have hopes that, they're going to come through. Like I really do. Yeah.
Just away, Maddie, you were correct about it. It was boring.
It was like, I really was excited to watch it because it seemed like a good matchup, but I like turned it on for a couple minutes and I was just like, okay.
Then the only thing missing in this situation was Lee Corso on the desk at NBC in Connecticut, picking up his number 2 pencil and going, "You want excitement? Not so fast, my friend."
Literally, it was just so uneventful. Like I was just like, okay.
Yes, it was truly uneventful. And so right now with standings, we mentioned how things are in Group 3, Group 2, the Group 1. Liverpool is a match. They have played one less match than Arsenal. Arsenal's played 22. Liverpool's at 48 points. Arsenal's at 46. Man City has a match in hand on Liverpool and 2 on Arsenal. So Manchester City, with a win today over Burnley, will close to 46 points, and they'll be in second, probably because of goal difference, 2 points behind. Villa's at 43. They have played 22 matches as well. Spurs at 40. That's group number 1. Group number 2, West Ham is 6th at 35. They're unbeaten in 5, but they've only drawn their last 2. Newcastle snapping the 4-game losing streak. Right now, they are at 32 points, ahead of Brighton on goal difference, ahead of Manchester United on goal difference. Chelsea's at 31 points. Wolves are at 29. That's group number 2. And then Fulham starts group number 3 that we were talking about there. Maddie, you got to hang out with us today on Prem and Proper, and you're in charge of the 1s and 2s. Was there anything else in the notes that you sent pre-show and while the show was going on that we missed? Oh, VAR in the Premier League. That we need to do. Yeah. So tell folks about that you stumbled across.
Yeah, I found that I was going to bed last night and I found this on Twitter and I was like, huh? Like that just like, and you touched on it at the beginning too, but I found it and I was like, okay, that's on Twitter. Let me find an actual article that backs this up. So I went to Daily Mail.
4-letter paper, take the information at your own peril.
Absolutely. But apparently the Premier League has given the green light to refs to explain VAR decisions to fans during the match in a significant change that is set to be introduced next season. To me, how is that going to work? They're going to stop the match, and they're just going to have a spotlight and it's going to go on to the ref and be like, listen, everybody, here's what happened. I just feel like that's going to cause so much more turmoil than expected. I feel like it's so much easier for refs to obviously explain their decision afterwards, because then they don't have to deal with the craziness of fans. I don't understand it. I get where they're coming from, but I really don't know how it's going to work. I'm really are they going to get a mic? Are they going to have a handheld mic that's passed to them instead of a boy?
You remember in the Women's World Cup where you had the referee's mic piped into the PA? That's how. Okay. So it would be like a Women's World Cup situation, or like we saw with Messi and friends the other day.
Yeah.
Where you go up to the line, you make your announcement, and then everything shuts off, and then you make sure that the in-house PA guy cuts your mic, so you're not sitting there going, "Escape that call." Just make sure that. And the end of the result, the end of the VAR is penalty, and you point and you whistle, and then everybody's ears are bleeding from you blowing your whistle.
That makes a little bit more sense. I just don't know. I don't know. I feel like obviously they can explain the decision, but then I also just feel like, I don't know, the suspensefulness of just seeing the motion of VAR and then the point to the box. That's just, so iconic. I just, it really is just so fun getting to just see the motion with no explanation. And it's just boom. And I don't know. With that logic, it makes a little bit more sense. I get why, especially just it helps, but I really don't know. I do not know. I'm trying to look and see if I find anything else.
Well, go ahead and go and fish and find and see if there's anything else that you find. And you're doing the ones and twos for another half hour, right?
I am.
Because then you got to go do things at Kennesaw, and it's like they need you too, but do they not understand? You know, it's like, come on now. It's like she's producing a morning show here.
Exactly. I mean, I got to go prep for graphics for our doubleheader tomorrow for men's and women's basketball. So always fun stuff.
Yep. So life with the Kennesaw State. So Maddie, as always, great to have you on, and you'll keep us posted with what's going on, either Twitch pitch, behind the scenes, or Choice D, all the above. Once again, thanks for coming on for Prem and Proper for one more time.
Absolutely, of course.
All right, there goes Maddie, and so that means it's a hot tag to start hour number 2. Here comes Dylan Butler into the discussion. Hi, Dylan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm intrigued. I'm confused. I am not necessarily surprised by things. It is a maelstrom of emotions this morning as we bring you in.
Well, I mean, you knew that I'd be on, so there's no confusion over that.
No. Yeah, it was not a maelstrom of emotions. It's about external factors.
Yeah.
It's about other things involving the sport that you and I get to talk about once a week. Did you see Messi and friends the other day when they were playing Al Hilal?
I did. I saw highlights. I didn't watch the game.
Okay. Well, I mean, it literally was a reaffirmation of what we've been talking about this entire time, of take the over. Literally take the over.
Yeah, I think it was like a 2-0 within like a minute, right?
Yeah. And you had Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, and you had Malcolm, and you had Alexander Mitrovic, and they were all involved.
I loved Mitrovic when he was at Newcastle, but
yeah,
I digress.
Well, I mean, there'll be Newcastle discussion before you go, sir. Trust me, there'll be Newcastle discussion. But yeah, it was 2-0 before you blinked. It was 3-1 at the break. Well, Suarez scores to make it 2-1. Messi and friends think they equalize, but the offside flag went up, and then it goes 3-1 at the break, 3-3 within a couple of minutes in the second half. You pull out Messi, and then you give up goal number 7 for the match and lose it 4-3. The match only reinforced our vision of taking the over when it comes to Messi and friends this year. I know that shocks you.
Yeah.
I'm just, and I think Kristov got injured as a part of all of this as well. Literally,
isn't that kind of crazy? Sorry, John, but like, here's my thought so far about Messi and friends and the worldwide preseason tour.
Yeah.
The people we were worried would get injured are not those guys. Like, they're the other guys who are very, very important to this whole operation as well. Because it can't just be Messi and friends, right? You need a support staff. You need different people in the band. So,
well, but maybe you just go out to Craigslist and say, "Hey, I need a guitarist. Can you be here for this kid?"
By the way, since it is Wall Pass, right?
It is Wall Pass. It is a Wall Passian Wednesday, sir. Yes.
I watched the it just came out, I think, the Netflix documentary last night on the We Are the World.
Okay.
Very entertaining. Very, very good.
Okay.
Like how pretty much like Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones somehow got all these 1980s mega stars in the same room at the same night. And again, you know, this isn't today with technology. Like, you know, you email over your track and this other person will send it, you know. No, like everything had to be done that night. It was the night of the American Music Awards, which was hosted by Lionel Richie that year. So you already knew you had a bunch of people in LA already, but then you had to convince others to get there. And just the, you know, the videos from that night in that room, really pretty awesome to watch. And listen, if you're a fan of 1980s pop this is definitely one for you, where Cyndi Lauper and Huey Lewis and Kenny Loggins and Sheila E. Sheila E. came off as you felt bad for her, by the way.
Oh,
yeah. Is it Sheena E or Sheila E? Sheena.
It's Sheila E. Sheena Easton and Sheila E.
Right, Sheila E. So they and I hope I'm not ruining it for anybody out there, but
oh no,
they really, really wanted Prince on We Are the World.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in town. He went to the award. He won a bunch of awards. But apparently, so they figured, let's get Sheila E., his percussionist,
yes,
and obviously also a solo artist. Let's get her, and then that will get him.
Oh, I tried the transitive property.
Mm-hmm. And they said to her, "Oh, we'll give you a solo as part of it," and they did not give her a solo.
Oh,
so she left at some point. They went through the night. I think they ended like at 8 a.m.
Yeah, they did. I remember that.
But and then they came out with We Are the World. It was really really fun look, and like that Bruce Springsteen the night before had finished his tour in Buffalo and flew out to LA for it, and there were people who weren't there for the awards who just came out for it, and then it's funny, like you think about this, so that you would argue, certainly, I don't know what number, right? Like one of the top songs in the past 50 years, right?
Yeah.
How would you like to be Prince, who just was like, I'm good. Right? Like, and he was in LA, like I said. So they said in the documentary, like Sheila E. like phoned Prince or somehow got, like, again, pre-cell phones, and he was at some club in LA, and he was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it was feeling uncomfortable in a room like that. He was going to do his stuff like solo, to the side in a different recording, and Quincy Jones was like, no, we'll be here for weeks. Everybody's in together, in the same room. So I thought it was really, really fun to watch. If you're into that kind of stuff, it's on Netflix. So
Netflix, okay. And then there was the guy who was like the organizer, who looked like Dan Aykroyd, and I thought he was Dan Aykroyd.
He was there, no?
I thought, who was Ken? What's his face? The guy who was in the back row.
Kenny Loggins?
No. It's one of the organizers. Oh God.
Oh yeah. His Lionel Richie's manager.
Yeah.
But Dan Aykroyd was there.
Okay, because there was one dude who I thought looked like Dan Aykroyd, but it wasn't Dan Aykroyd.
Like, it's really funny because they put the artists, so I think somewhere like on the record or something, in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd, like not Michael Jackson, not like, Dan Aykroyd's at the top.
Okay, because it says chorus alphabetically, Dan Aykroyd. Okay.
Yeah, see.
Okay, because one of the, it's like, oh God, it's Ken something or other, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he was one of the organizers, and he was in the back, and everybody thought that he was Dan Aykroyd, but it wasn't Dan Aykroyd.
Yes, that's true.
So that was where my brain.
Reagan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was it. Nick is in this morning to party on. Nick, what's on your mind with Dylan?
Well, they had that moment, right, where they cut to Prince and he had the sucker in his mouth. They tried to put the mic in front of him.
Saw it, dude. How sick was that? That was great. He's
he points the sucker back at the guy.
Yeah. And his guy and his like wrestling looking dude walking him onto the stage.
That's
the security dude.
You weren't. I mean, I don't think people realize that Prince and Michael Jackson had major beef back then. So anything that was like Jackson centric, Prince was like,
yeah, and that's what this was. And so the Huey Lewis part of the song, that was supposed to be Prince's. Like, so it would have been. They would have went Michael Jackson into Prince.
Oh,
but Prince is like, nah, I'm not having that.
Oh, wow.
No.
Okay.
If you, I mean, the stories that there, God, I'm trying to remember Mike Judge, who was like the creator of Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. He did a series on like Tales from the Tour Bus, which is absolute gold. You can find them on YouTube, and it's all animated, and they have people who like these music stars that talk about these crazy stories from the road. And one of them was Bootsy Collins from Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah.
They talk about Bootsy Collins' journey from touring and playing with James Brown to going to Parliament Funkadelic. And at one time, he was working with Rick James, and they were up in, in Minnesota. And he was talking about this like real creepy kid in the corner who was just like giving everyone the evil eye. And it turns out it was Prince. It was like a young version of Prince. And he just held grudges, like these religious grudges against people, to the point where they even pointed out the fact that Prince made sure he died like after Rick James to be like the pettiest move in all of music history. So it is.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Quincy Jones for being like, listen, let's get Sheila E. and Sheila E. will get him in here.
Yes.
Man, no, what wasn't. And then Al Jarreau was like drunk on wine and he couldn't get his parts right. And
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm going to have to watch this now.
Yeah. Prince Piano and a Microphone is still the greatest concert I've ever been to. I went to his last show here in Atlanta.
Oh, lucky.
And it was, he used the audience as percussion. And so he would be like 1, 2, 3, 4. And so, and like the crowd would start going, from the top. And then like he would do it again. And then the whole crowd would get going. And I don't know how he made the piano sound like an orchestra, but he did. And you could see he would feel it to the point where he would jump up and like stomp around the stage and then come back and just like go into this full, like his mind transcended consciousness at that time. Never seen anything like it in my life. And he closed the show with a mix of The Beautiful Ones in Purple Rain, and did it all like just like jazz style on the piano. I had tears in my eyes. It was exceptional. So yes, I will be watching this on Netflix simply for that one part.
See, I wish I'd seen him. Like I've been fortunate to see I've seen Paul McCartney live. I've seen the Stones live. My biggest it would have been my biggest regret. I'm so glad I was able to. I was a youngin' in high school, and I went to see Frank Sinatra at the Garden.
Oh,
wow!
Amazing!
Wow!
And check this out. So like and it's great. Like how tours, they used to be like brought to you by Budweiser, like or whatever. And like this was like Chivas Regal. Like there's not like we're not dealing with Budweiser and Miller Lite. Like we're Chivas, So he got panned a few nights earlier at Nassau Coliseum. Like he shouldn't be touring anymore. He was slurring he couldn't read the teleprompter. But now this was at the Garden, right? So he's probably pissed about that review, knowing also now he's playing the Garden. Crushed it. It was an incredible, incredible show. So happy I was able to go to that.
Who's this reviewer, and where did we get it?
No, I think I know the story behind this. I think I know the story behind this one. I think wasn't the Nassau Coliseum the one where he forgot like halfway through a song, he forgot the words, he forgot where he was, and just stopped and froze.
Yeah, I think so.
And somebody from the upper rafters, of course, because it's it's the Nassau Coliseum, somebody from the upper rafter goes, "Don't worry about it, Frank. We love you." And like he said, like in that moment, like he just kind of went, "Okay, from the top, 1, 2, 3," and then like boom, and like killed it. And then I think after that, the show you saw was the one where he absolutely blew the roof off, because and all he said he needed was that one bit of support.
It was tremendous. Like, man, I think I was either 15 or 16, like me and my boys, we dressed up like we were in in Goodfellas, like when you were like,
there you go.
It was so good. It was so good.
My God.
Beyond jealous of that, man. Wow, what a show.
That's strong. That's pretty good.
That's incredible.
Over the last, we got 10 more minutes with you.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
No.
What?
No. I mean, Ian Cameron, South Georgia Tormenta is coming up at 10:30.
I don't think you're familiar with the format of this show, Dylan.
Like,
off the rails is on the rails.
Yeah,
correct.
That is exactly correct.
This is the soccer show on bath salts. We go wherever we need to go.
Or is it a bath salt show on soccer?
I mean, yeah, it's like the closing scene of 2001 Space Odyssey when he goes through the monolith and it's like bright neon laser beams flying past him. That's us from the jump.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, we don't need roads, Rich Ransom says. He's absolutely correct. There've been a couple of moves this morning. Tommy Scoops comes out with Duncan McGuire to Blackburn. So Orlando loses one of their top guns. They're getting paid almost, in a max case, $6.5 million. But they maxed out on Duncan McGuire in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Orlando has cornered the market on drafting college strikers and getting them to England, right? So, or getting to Europe, I should say, at least, right? Now it's 3 that they've done that with. So, but I would say, I wonder if this is one that even surprised them. Yeah, perhaps, right? Like, because now they've got. I mean, it's a busier. I don't know. It's a busier offseason, I think, than maybe they even anticipated, and now more holes to fill than they anticipated. Now, of course, listen, people need to remember the transfer window isn't, the English transfer window. It's not closing, momentarily. Like this is happening till April, so they have the opportunity to get players until then, or certainly roll the dice and go to January, go to the summer. But I kind of surprised that his I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of surprised by it. Like I felt like he needed maybe another year and showing what he could do in MLS, and that last year wasn't a one-off, but I guess certainly his skill set goes well for England and goes well for those levels for sure.
Nick, for Dylan.
For Duncan McGuire.
Yes, for Duncan McGuire.
Well, so Dylan, do you think that, and I already have my opinion on this, but do you think that Orlando should have maybe counseled him and said, look, you sit here for one more year and you cook like this and you're going for a double-digit transfer fee? Or do you think it was kind of one of those things where they were like, yeah, we're not revisiting some of our past sins. We're getting this kid out of here while we can?
Yeah, I mean, I probably a little bit of both. I mean, I'd imagine there had to have been a conversation like, are you sure about this? You're still young. Let's do this one more time and see what you can do here and see what the offers look like beyond that. But we're not in his head, and we're not in his. We don't know his desires in this case, right? Maybe he desperately wants to go to England and play there. So, listen, kudos to him. Hope he does well. But a little bit of a strange one to me.
Looks like Minnesota United's chief soccer officer finally made it to this side of the Atlantic.
Oh, that's nice. Did he go by like donkey, or
did he go over the Great Meridian and like drive or something? He's finally here, but Minnesota United still doesn't have a head coach. They're still on their substitute teacher.
It feels like this guy's like on like the Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Like he's having to like helicopter out into the North Sea to catch a raft to get on a ship to, a helicopter. The helicopter was being flown by like some drunken Nordic guy. And that's the only, it's like the Odyssey.
Randy Quaid in Armageddon.
Something, man. I don't know. It's wild that it took this long to get this happening. And they still don't have a manager, which is just hilarious. But
I just still don't understand. Again, like you can, this isn't We Are the World 1980s. Like, there's the internet, there's Zoom, like there's ways to interview managers and to text and, international calls, like I don't know why seemingly you'd have to start this process. And again, just from the outside looking in,
yep.
before you arrive, in Minnesota.
You're like, bro, it's like, no, I want to wait until I'm face to face with the players before I kind of talk to them. This is how Khalid Al-Ahmad wants to operate. And he's like, I didn't want to do anything virtual. I want to wait until I get to Arizona before I start talking to the guys. And literally the first thing that's popping into my head is like, bruh. I mean, yeah, there are ways to do this. There are ways to recruit. There are ways to bring in coaches. I mean, like you guys have said, virtually, I mean, that can be done. You can actually see someone's face, have interviews, block out. Even if you don't have unlimited Zoom, you can still do a 40-minute meeting.
We'll have a tea break right now, and we'll resume this in a few minutes.
Yeah, it's like I've got to set up another Zoom meeting. I'll be right back. You can still do those kinds of things. But Minnesota, to me, just seems like they are so. I mean, I don't know what is behind the 8 ball. I mean, are you at like behind the 12 at that point? If you're so far behind the 8 ball that you're like behind the 13 or the 14, and stuck against a couple of bumpers and you have to call safety shot. I mean, what is going on here? I don't get it.
By the way, if Prince were alive today, would he go to a Minnesota United match?
Why would he want to punish himself, man?
I mean, I don't know. He showed up for the Vikings for a while. That's kind of its own unique set of terrors. But he was so diehard Minnesota. I imagine he would, but he would probably demand that, like, he would go on the field like during the game, and would be like, demanding that the players like start functioning better, and somehow they would.
He would do that with like a guitar around his neck, like just walking on the field.
Oh, absolutely. And he'd use the guitar. He'd use his right hand with the guitar in it, and he would point the neck of the guitar at the guys that he would want to improve.
Well, look, stranger things have happened, right? I mean, we're talking about the guy that was in the middle of a monsoon for the greatest halftime show ever. A super slick surface, dancing around, did not slip, did not fall, and did not get wet. The purple aura.
Absolutely.
Protected him. He did not get wet. That man could have walked on the field and pointed a guitar and be like, play better. And like the guy would have been like suddenly like a $40 million transfer.
Will Trapp and Timu Pukki, man, they would have been all over it.
Yeah.
Dane St. Clair would have been on his head. Prince points at you. If Prince points at you with the neck of that guitar and says, play better, you're going to play better, damn it.
I think also the new boss would have arrived a little bit quicker if Prince was.
Yes.
100%. Prince would probably know someone like immediately. Like his like backup keyboard artist would be an A-license, manager. And go in there. Like, okay, all right, dude.
All right, so Dylan, before you go, I'm going to get you and Nick, Ian Cameron of South Georgia Tormenta coming up here in a couple of minutes. Dell wants to know if we missed Nick's reaction to Gio and the Ronaldo injury.
No, I have not issued any statement on Gio other than to say that it's pure comedy. He's going to Forest. Man was playing for Borussia Dortmund, and he's going to Forest. That tells you everything you need to know.
Hey, Jorge Mendes is all you need to know about that, brother.
I'm just saying. Like, well, why? Daddy couldn't land you a better spot than
because Jorge Mendes said
if you're going to Forest, you might as well just come play for NYCFC.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, I get it. You want to stay on that side of things. I get it. But,
go play for Wrexham.
Oh, you would have ended up on it. You would have got the publicity you so desperately desire. Yeah, Dell's right. We don't talk about Daddy. I'm just, like, it's a move. It's a move. Rich nailed it. It's a move.
It's
That's
a move.
Not always good. It's a move.
It's a move.
Ronaldo injury, I pay no attention. He's in the forbidden zone. I don't care.
So Dylan, we are denied our international pleasures.
Yeah.
Of CR38 and Messi and friends. We're denied this, sir. Can we go on as a society?
It will be difficult because we do know that our world hinges on international friendlies played across the world. So we'll find a way to survive. I mean, go to Netflix. That's what I've done. So
there you go. See, and that's how you end up doing the best work here on a Wall Pass Wednesday is steering viewing habits in the proper direction.
I also binged the show Beef. I saw it winning all of these awards, and I was like, "What's up with this show?" So,
I know not of this Beef. So.
I know of it. I've been reluctant to watch it. So what you're saying is I should watch the show Beef then.
Am I giving it the Butler thumbs up? It was interesting. It wasn't my favorite show of all time, but good kind of twists and turns.
All right.
I just know now to avoid road rage. That's the moral of the story.
Okay.
Well, that's especially down here in Atlanta. It can I-285 can turn to Mad Max Fury Road very quickly.
You ain't kidding.
Except instead of like
soaking the Cross Bronx Expressway.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Traveling out the Paramus Mall, it can get pretty crazy.
All right.
Toyota Tercel will run you off the road.
Yes. All right, Dylan, what's going on at Varsity Media, OSDB, and MLS Soccer?
Yeah, OSDB still counting down to the start of the year, and this past week we had a little bit on the crew. Can they run it back? And that was this past Monday story. And this upcoming Monday will be about the aforementioned Messi and friends, and sort of this, win now, or that's it, right? Kind of looking a lot like some of these like NBA teams, where you just get like all these dudes together and like try to win a championship. And we'll see if they're able to do that. So that's that. And then I have Sunday. I've got another Catholic basketball showdown. It's St. Francis Prep St. Raymond's, which should be fun. Every game that I've kind of handpicked a lot of these games. I've had back-to-back overtime games.
There you go.
This past week I had a double overtime game. So this will be 4:30 on Sunday. Varsity Media on the YouTubes, and being the great guy that I am, bringing the crew out for dinner at the Pine Restaurant in the Bronx, one of the better Italian, not on Arthur Avenue, but one of the better Italian restaurants in the Bronx. So
that is absolutely strong. See, now when those
Frankie and Johnny's Pine Restaurant.
Okay, yeah. So now when we make our sojourn to Dylan Butler Estates, you need to direct us in all these directions and be our food tour guide when it comes to this kind of stuff.
I'm on it.
All right, Dylan, appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
All right, boys.
All right,
later. There
goes Dylan. And so being incredibly punctual as head coaches are, I mean, literally the 10:30 appointment with Ian Cameron, coach was in the green room early. So basically the way it works for Ian, and we'll catch up with him and find out about South Georgia Tormenta as they get ready for training camp. He's on the Tom Coughlin scale. If you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, we're locking the door behind, and so you can't come in.
There we go.
So because he's here, and it's and I was trying to filibuster till 10:30 exactly, but forget about it. Ian Cameron, head coach of South Georgia Tormenta, coming in before you guys get to camp. Coach, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is John. It is Nick hanging out with you. You got training camp tomorrow, sir. What's the off season been like?
Oh, the off season is a long and dark and treacherous period. only able to get through with the light of a new season. You get to the end of the season and you feel like you need the rest, and then after about 2 weeks you want to get back on the field and get working. So it's a great time with family and Christmas and all those things. But we are made to work, and we're excited to get back at it.
No doubt about it. Nick, Free, and Cameron.
So you got the season right around the corner. What's the thing so far with the team that you've been most impressed with?
Well, we've not had a whole lot of time with the new CBA. We don't spend a whole ton of time with the guys prior to Feb 1. But I think as an organisation, it's a rebuild year. We've got a lot of fresh faces for a lot of new guys, and their level of communication has been really good so far. Their intent to come into the market early, get training together early, all those things you can't choreograph that. You can't put demands on that. You're certainly pretty positive when you see it happening, and it gives you hope. It gives you it gives you that kind of credibility with the boys that they know what's required right now. And once we get together tomorrow, then we'll hit the ground running, hopefully.
What was the biggest lesson that you and the staff took from the 2023 season that you're applying to all of your conversations getting ready for Feb 1? What was the biggest lesson that you learned last year about yourselves and the team to get you ready for the 24 season in one of the toughest leagues around?
Well, look, I think I've said this to you before a few times. Our staff are in our infancy as coaches, so there's always things that we learn about ourselves, about coaching, about how to navigate a season that you build upon. I think in terms of the actual output and performance from last year, there's certain game model aspects of our team that were just short of expectations in terms of the amount of goals we conceded, and then our aptitude on either end on set pieces. Those are big parts of a game model that we weren't a top team in. I think we had enough goals in us. I think we had enough possession. I think we had enough creativity. But those domains weren't strong enough. And part of that was bad luck and so forth. Part of that was structure. But part of that is by design, and it's the parts that we recognise are by design in terms of the qualities and aspects of the group dynamic that we have to be able to manage those different kind of game model parts. Those were missing last year, and we've made strides this year in terms of the composition of the squad to try to rectify them best we can. Now, will we? It's on paper we will be much stronger in set pieces, both ends. On paper we'll be stronger defensively, and on paper we'll hopefully score as many goals, which, on paper then we should be in the top 4, but that's yet to be proved. But those are certainly dynamics that were missing last year that we've had to address to make sure that we're not limiting our potential to just our output of goals or just certain ways of being creative. And there's lots of ways to win games, and we were just missing in too many departments last year.
A question, and this is sort of a larger coaching question, not just specifically for your squad, but as a coach, as a leader at this part of the season, I think part of it is trying to get buy-in, right? And trying to get, hey, look, a lot of fresh faces, buy into our system, believe in what we're doing. As a manager, as a leader, how do you convince people to buy in these new fresh faces to the philosophy and the process that you're trying to build down there?
Yeah, I don't mean to get boiled down to semantics. I go back and forth on the term buy-in. I mean, it's something that's used a lot. I don't know if I quite agree with that terminology necessarily, but the grander scale of it is we have to have a common way of working, and we have to have a real understanding of what we're trying to achieve on the field together. And those things takes time. But on the front end, it's got to be a lot of... In the front end, it's a little bit more autocratic because the guys have got to get used to what the coaching staff want and to employ on the field. But to do that, our kind of methodology is if we can program them and come to real understanding and seduce them to what we are wanting the group to exhibit on the field, and if we can put a lot of work into that, then that's 70% of the game. Then the other 30% of the game is their freedom and their creativity. But that comes to fruition and becomes more fluid when they're really given a strong foundation. And it's the foundational aspects of what we want to employ in the field that we have to put the most work in on the front end of the season. And there's no shortcuts to it. It's being on the training ground, having consistency in our habits, consistency in our message to the players, them getting us building the credibility with them by us being the example of exactly what we are looking for, and then holding the accountability. So we have to have a clear vision of what we're trying to do, a vision of success. We have to define all the processes and the boys to learn the processes that are put in place to achieve that vision. And then comes the tough part, the day-to-day accountability, to make sure that we're sticking to the tasks that we've set for ourselves. So that's the process that we start to undertake. And in that, some guys just follow it blindly. Some guys need a little bit more seduction. Some guys have more questions. So you learn those personalities. And that's the fun part of what we're about to enter in the next 4-5 weeks of preseason prior to opening up against Fuego.
Ian Cameron, head coach of South Georgia Tormenta, hanging out with us here on SDH on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Since we're in the coaching element, one of our watchers, listeners, is down in Charleston, and he wanted to know if you learned a lot from John Milracy, the former head coach at Tormenta, when it came to figuring out your stylistics and things like that. Who were some of your role models when you were growing into the coach that you are, and who do you have on speed dial when you have questions?
And there's no question that the experience with John was formative in my career. I got to watch the staff from the outside for a year when I was a USL2 coach, and then came in to work with them for a year, which was great. I think in terms of my game model and what I like to see employed in the field, I think the origins of that come from a much younger age. Come probably from my father. And my family in general, and we're quite a big football family. My dad was a pro football player. My sister was a very good player. My sister and I played together from a very, very young age every week. So we have certain dynamics that as a family are just integral to the way that we see the game. Not all the same, but for the most part, those foundations came there. And I think what the biggest journey I've taken when I've worked with Brad Russo at Mercer University, when I've worked with John, when I've leaned on Darren and Nitra in terms of this organisation, is becoming a coach and becoming a manager. I think the football ideology side, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but is that the stylistic side is I'm quite insular when it comes to that, and I have quite a clear ideology in my head. Not the right ideology, not the wrong one, but I've always had that, and it's been ingrained in me from my upbringing and my formative experiences playing football as a young man. But the learning to become a manager, the learning to how to run an organisation, how to create the environment conducive to a high performance environment, those are learned experiences, and I've got great knowledge from working with Brad. To give an example, somebody I greatly admire that's been in our leagues who stylistically were very different, and I mean very different. But in terms of organisation, I thought Jay Mims at Omaha was outstanding. And I solicited his advice quite recently in a Zoom call prior to him joining the Memphis organisation to kind of learn from how he builds a team and so forth. Now, what we do a game model is different, but in terms of there's so many coaches in this country that you can really learn from, both from afar and from close, on just how they run the operation. What you do in the tactics on the field, that's idiosyncratic, but how you run an organisation, I think there's so much commonality in the top people and how they do that us as a young staff, we're still trying to learn, and that's where we're trying to steal ideas left, right, and centre.
Nick, go for it.
No, I think I'm kind of at a pause there, because I think that's such a great answer, right? How far back you can draw these experiences that season, everything that you're doing today, and the sort of growth models that you've put into place. For me, it's fascinating anytime you get an opportunity to talk to a manager, a leader of an organization, because it's interesting to hear sort of the genesis of how they became the person who they are how they are today. And I think it's wonderful that you talk about how your family played a role in that, right? You know, your dad's success, your sister being a great footballer in her own right, and then you coming along and growing and developing with that as well. There's not even really a question of it. I think it's just important that when we talk about managers who are coming up in the game nowadays, just generally speaking, that it's not just this textbook mentality of this is how to be a football manager, but also like there's these other great experiences in life that you can bring in. And I think that it provides just this wealth and this depth of knowledge and experience that, you know, Ian, I love hearing you talk about. I think it's amazing.
Well, just to piggyback off that real fast, if you don't mind, I think management is so rewarding and it's an amazing job, but it's so incredibly difficult in terms of the mental load. You know, it affects your family, it affects everything you are, because it's just a 24/7 immersion in it. And I think within that, when you decide to do any sort of management in any field, in any industry, and you want to become a leader, if you're constantly there's lots of other really great ideas out there, and you're never disputing that. But if you're constantly a chameleon and trying to jump from one idea to another idea and steal this and steal that, then you can lose yourself, and it becomes very tough. So when the rainy day, you need some conviction, because if you don't have conviction in a way of playing or a style, or then it's really tough to begin with. So having conviction, right, wrong, and different of what that is, can really give you that can get you through things. And you're going to stand in front of a group of 22 boys or girls and tell them, we're going to do something. You better have passion, and you better have conviction in your voice, and you better believe in a style and want something, because all of a sudden 20 years of your career could go by and you're being somebody else. And if you're constantly trying to be somebody else, that'd be tiring. That'd be really tough. Now, that's not to say you don't steal stuff. You look at your circle of competency, I think, and say, okay, this is what I'm really good at. This is where my core strengths are. And then everything out of that circle, get other people to do it who are better than you, right? So I've got lots of people in here in my organization who know stuff I have no idea about, and I lean on them so heavily for stuff. And then my circle of competency, I think, is my ability on the field to teach people and to make them buy, to steal the phrase, to buy into what we're trying to do, to play in a common way. So I think you have to have a certain degree of narrow-mindedness and conviction in what you're doing, while still having awareness of what's outside of your scope and ability, and what you need to steal from either other people or other ideas. And it's the balancing act of that, of staying true to yourself, enjoying the product you have in the field, and then being smart enough to try to learn what else is out there that you don't quite grasp right now. And that's what you're constantly trying to do.
Another couple of minutes here with Ian Cameron as he gets ready for training camp down there in Statesboro with South Georgia Tormenta in USL League One. You mentioned all of the new faces, and there's a lot of new faces. Just to give folks an idea as to who is out of contract and not returning: Arthur Boswa, Heckenberg, Dalton Knutson, Deshaun Nemhard, Jake Dingler, Keziah Sterling, Kingsford Ajay, Makweli Akali, Pablo Hara, who's now in Richmond, TJ Bush, Toby Otieno. But you're bringing back Jackson Curry, Fedor Fonseca, Preston Kilwine, Nick Akoto, and you're adding some names. Daniel Steedman, a name that diehard Atlanta United folks remember from the draft. Where is the roster assembly right now? Do you still have some spots that you're trying to bring in? Are you bringing in the trialist family? How are things shaking out right now with the roster here in 24?
It's a mix of both. There's definitely a couple of spots that we're still assessing, and we have guys coming into pre-season to try to earn the right and for them to learn about our environment and see if it's the right place for them, and vice versa for us to see how do they fit in and with the way that we coach and so forth. So that's an ongoing process. In terms of the squad's composition and how we go about it, I think like everything in life, you look at the environment you have and you decide, okay, what's the right pieces for this environment? You know, we're looking across the board, and as a coach, you're saying, okay, I'm watching Omaha sign these seasoned veterans from the championship. I'm watching Lexington and what they're doing. And
they are blowing out the salary cap, man.
And there's, you know, they must be spending through the wazoo, but Darren's a phenomenal coach and has so many contacts that I don't have. So you can, again, the point I was making before, you could get lost in that and start chasing, okay, is their methodology right? We just try to stay, okay, what suits Tormenta FC? we are a farm school for young talent. We add in a couple of older players that can give us the maturity and help us with the game model. But our niche is young, up-and-coming players who are striving to fulfill their potential and one day will move on to bigger leagues. That is our model. So while it's enticing to look at the way other teams do it and how much experience Greenville are returning and how much experience they have on their bench, I can't simulate that. I don't have Rick's experience. I don't have his know-how. I'm just young and dumb and have enthusiasm. And I need players who are young and dumb and have enthusiasm. And we're going to jump on a bus together and we're going to go on a journey together. And we might not take all the right turns and we might not have all the schematics laid out, but we'll have a hell of a lot of energy and we'll play a brand of football that's exciting and invigorating. And I will put out there, the last time we rebuilt a squad, the organisation did a really nice job and had some silverware at the end of the year. And we're going to trust that process to do it. And I don't think we'll win the pre-season ballads in terms of the names and so forth that we acquire, but we are looking for young guys who we see great potential in, that we think if we cultivate, allow them to blossom, I think it could be something pretty cool that'll be on the field in terms of wearing the Tormenta crest.
No doubt about it. Jake's back on a 1-year deal, and there are some names that you're going to have to learn about this roster coming up in 2024. Coach, enjoy training camp. I know that you're itching. You and the staff are itching to get back to it and get everything squared away for 2024. Thanks for coming on the day before. You're like, this is like your -1 press conference opportunity before everything hits on Thursday. As always, Ian, great to have you on here on SDH on the morning show. Good luck tomorrow, and obviously we'll be keeping an eye on training camp and getting ready because season will be here before we know it.
Thank you both, and thanks for the continued exposure you give USL1. It's a great product, and you guys help elevate the league in general. So we're looking forward to another great season.
All right. Thanks, Ian. Ian is out the door. He's got Nick, he's got the car wash, man. He's got to get to getting for training camp to start tomorrow. I mean, it's going to be interesting with Tormenta. They brought in a couple of players. They signed Callum Stretch to a 1-year deal with an option for 25. You're going to have to do some homework. Sebastian Vivas on a 1-year deal with an option. And Daniel Steedman, Connor Doyle's on a 2-year deal, but Daniel Steedman was a name that folks are instantly, at least up here in Atlanta, going to draw to because of the time that he spent with the Twos. There's a drawing card up here in this part of the state when it comes to Statesboro and what they're getting ready for in 2024.
You know what I like about his answers, and I'm not just saying that because we try to feature Tormenta and it's just a great org, but I love the fact that it reminds me, and they're two very different people, but there was an SEC coach who used to be the coach for Mississippi State. And we were interviewing him at SEC Media Days, and we said, Coach, how do you compete? You've got LSU in your backyard. You got Alabama over here, and they're getting players that, that are, they helicopter in, they fly jets in. And the coach said, Nick, we draw a circle around Starkville.
Mm-hmm.
And we find any bit of talent we can. We leave no stone unturned here. We're not trying to convince people to come to Starkville. It's probably not going to happen. But we understand the bed of talent we have here, and it's good. And so we work that. And I think for Mr. Cameron to sit there and just take a look at the landscape and say, you know what, we aren't trying to financially blow the doors off like some other teams are. That's, we probably lose ourselves in the process. We grow players here and get them ready for the next level. I think that's it's very wise for him to survey the landscape like that and to really just acknowledge, okay, here's who we are, here's what we do, and here's how we win. And that's, you're not finding a lot of managers to do that. And the reason why I asked the question about leadership is that when you do have a new management team, right? Corporate, sporting, whatever, it is easy to lose yourself and trying to be something you're not, or to try to have this kind of really insane, I'm not going to say like this psychotic belief, but you can be a realist and at the same time see things that maybe other people don't see, right? Like Dan Campbell up in Detroit.
Yep.
Everybody made fun of Dan Campbell, like, who is this idiot talking about eating kneecaps and everything? And they were the Detroit Lions, one game away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if you look at the success that Tormenta has had previously, you have this coaching staff that, is, as Ian Cameron said, in its infancy. It's interesting to hear his belief in how he, what he sees Tormenta as, what he sees the league landscape, and what he sees as the future of his team. I think that's very, very interesting.
Going through the rest of the news and all the transfers, and obviously we'll keep an eye on what's going on. He mentioned USL League One. We mentioned Lexington specifically. You bring in Cameron Lancaster from Lou City, and Cameron Lancaster, known in USL Championship from, being one of the most prolific goal scorers there. And so, by the way, Lex is going to bring in Cameron Lancaster to help things out this season as a League One striker. You want to talk about the leader in the clubhouse right now for goals scored? I'd go with Cameron Lancaster right now in Lexington. Lexington probably going to be at the top end of the table when it comes to the GF category, goals for. You're going to see a lot about that. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we tell you what to watch, where to watch it. By the way, AFCON, the top 5 ranked teams on the continent did not make it out of the round of 16. All gone. Bye-bye. Round of 8. The top 5 ranked teams in Africa are not a part of it. The home team is. Insert thought here. Telegraph. Telegraph, not one to mince words. By the way, former Sheffield United manager Paul Heckingbottom has been banned from driving for 6 months, Nick. And here's their punchline in the lead. After accumulating more points on his license than he won in the Premier League this season.
Good God almighty. Whew. Whew. Okay.
Heckingbottom was disqualified for having 12 points on his license and insisted his hunt for a new job would be impacted by the penalty. He was sacked at Bramall Lane last month after picking up 5 points in the first 14 games for Sheffield United. Sheffield Magistrates Court heard he was caught driving 57 in a temporary 50 on the M1 by a mobile speed camera on July 15th last year. He pleaded guilty to speeding, was fined a little over £1,500. But he made an exceptional hardship application to be spared a ban during his court appearance, pleading that a ban could impact his future job prospects. He told the court, quote, "Between now and the next 5 months is when football manager jobs become available. You can gain or lose a job at the drop of a hat. It can be a phone call. You never know when an opportunity will arise. Disqualification will outright stop me getting a job because of the competitive nature of the market." Heckingbottom confirmed he was not employed when he was examined by his solicitor and said he was currently, quote, "a stay-at-home dad," end quote. He added that during January he'd been preparing for a new role in football. Sheffield United chief exec Steve Betts wrote a letter in his defense about how a driving ban would impact the manager's work. Heckingbottom further argued that a ban would keep him from supporting Weston Park Cancer Charity and from studying for a professional doctorate at Leeds Beckett. And he said, this would affect me the most. I've got 4 girls with my wife, and we share the load in raising our kids. All the after-school clubs, school runs, GCSE studies, it's down to me and Claire that we are available to pick them up after school. But I think the Telegraph gets the line of the day. Paul Heckingbottom banned for driving 6 months after getting more points on his license than he won in the Premier League. So points to the Telegraph today. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo on apparently the Andretti bid to join Formula One by 2026 has been rejected for those of you that follow Formula One. PSG could revive their interest in Marcus Rashford. Spurs, according to the 3-letter paper, are considering a £50 million move for Dominic Solanke. It's going to be a tough question for Bill Foley in that front office. I don't think Andoni Iraola is going to want that to happen if Bournemouth is going to stay up. Spurs may also make a late bid to sign Conor Gallagher from Chelsea. Chelsea doesn't seem to be interested. The market is looking at 45 to 50 million pounds. Fulham want Armando Broja, but are yet to get close to the 50 million pound valuation. Wolves are also interested. Chelsea willing to sell to raise funds for a new striker. West Ham keen to replace Said Benrahma by signing Jota from Al Ittihad. The Hammers rejecting interest from Wolves and Crystal Palace for Danny Ings. Villa have agreed to a £16 million deal for Middlesbrough English winger Morgan Rogers. Liverpool could move for Fulham defender Tosin Adarabioyo this summer. Juve and Moise Kean has had a proposed loan move to Atletico Madrid collapse because of fitness issues. We talked about that yesterday, Nick. Fitness issues.
Yep, fitness issues.
We thought it was a knee injury, which was what the discussion was, but now today, according to the four-letter, it is fitness issues.
Fitness issues. A professional soccer player who is clearly in shape, not like the Hamburglar.
No.
But a player who's clearly in shape is now experiencing fitness issues. Ladies and gentlemen, what did we talk about yesterday? the medical is where deals go to die.
Find a reason.
Just find it. Find something. And you're not going to have a lot of teams push back on that because they don't want to burn a future business partner down the road. So what they say is, all right, okay, we see you. All right. Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. And they say what they say. All I'm putting out there is that if you there's no such thing as a free lunch, as former Coucholand podcaster David Amayal used to say. Like you're paying agents, you're doing fees here, fees there. There's no such thing as a free transfer, and nothing is done until the player is holding the shirt.
Correct.
That's it. Anything before that, you have up until the medical to change your mind. The player's in this town. Okay, great. The player's going to sign. All right, awesome. The player's going to have a medical review. Something happened in the medical review. Of course it did. Somebody got rubbed the wrong way. Something changed. The deal was off the table. And so it got done in medical. You don't want the business side of things to be public on that, because you don't want Atleti to say, hey, you clowns changed something last minute. We're not doing this. Or an agent be problematic, right? Because the agent suddenly doubled their fee. Now both teams are kind of like, well, what do we do? We can't piss the agent off. We won't send any players here. So just say it died. Just say it died in medical. Just say it died in medical. So, I promise you, there are a lot of shows that will throw a lot of hippo poop your way. This show is one that will give you the very realistic, problematic scenarios as they exist, not some kind of crazy UFO stuff.
We're not going to stare at the pile of hippo poop and go, oh, that's a pile of hippo poop. We're going to grab the shovel.
Right. It would be easy to put the blame on Juve. It would be easy to put the blame on Atleti. It would be easy to put the blame on the agent, but it can also be a combination of all three. Or maybe the player walked in and got a weird vibe and said, nope. Okay, well, how do we end this? The player's kind of having second thoughts and just find something medical.
Oh my own.
Yeah. And next week, he'll be right as rain.
Strange how that'll work. Bayern Munich want Granada's winger Brian Zaragoza. Granada close to finalizing a loan deal for Facundo Pellistri from Manchester United. We mentioned the Mangala deal with the four-letter paper and with the Athletic. Lyon pushing to agree to a £30 million move for Mangala. Manchester United hope to appoint a director of football in the next few days before a summer purge in the recruitment department. Fulham, Palace, and Forest have all been put off by a move for Trevor Chalobah by Chelsea's £25 million price tag. West Ham have turned down an inquiry from Crystal Palace for defender Ben Johnson, who's out of contract. Brighton have opened talks with Spurs over a loan move on midfielder Brian Heel. It's the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Manchester United and Amad Diallo keen to return to Sunderland on loan until the end of the year and approach senior figures at Old Trafford to try to push that through. Leicester City will not sell midfielder Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. 30 to 40 million have been on the board. Leicester still says no. Interest from Brighton, Brentford, Fulham, and Arsenal. Arsenal's 19-year-old English midfielder Bradley Ibrahim set to join Hertha Berlin, according to Fabrizio Romano. Singer Robbie Williams is preparing a bid to buy League One club Port Vale. It's from the three-letter paper. Now, Dell and then D. Graham have been discussing Reyna all morning. So Dell says, didn't know Reyna signed a new deal at Dortmund until June of 26. Does that mean Dortmund rates him and think he could still be in their future plans? D. Graham posits if he does well at Forest, he'll have transfer value. That's what they want. If he fails, he'll have value when the contract expires.
Nailed it. That's it. That's all it is. It's there. A player has value in a couple of different ways. One is their on-field play, right? That's one key way they have value. And then their name. How marketable are they? What's their brand? Mm-hmm. And if you have a brand that is, has access to the American market, there will be people who will be in play. Teams around Europe saw, the American response with Christian Pulisic, right? They saw the buy-in whenever he went to Milan. They see the numbers that are coming out of Milan on shirt sales and social media hits. Mm-hmm. Social media hits, while some people may think that means nothing, whenever you have advertisers who, they like price per click gets factored in, mm-hmm. those social media numbers start to mean something, right? Because then they can go to advertisers and be like, hey, Bulgari, we have, we had, 15% increase in our social media by getting this player. That means your price to advertise with us is going up. Oh, okay, great. More money for the club. And the company doesn't care. The ad agency doesn't care because they know that the numbers are there to back it. What this is for Dortmund is they're hoping that Gio gets his stuff sorted at Forest.
Yeah.
Maybe gets a little humbled. Maybe daddy and mommy stop helicoptering and start watching as loved ones in the stands, as opposed to being, mixed in inseparably from the business aspect of what goes on with their son. If all of those things work and he comes back and he's a better player on and off the field, and, the Reynas are easier to deal with as a result of this, mm-hmm. Great. Marvelous. In the event that it doesn't work out that way and he balls out of control at Forest and some other club comes in and says, we'll take him. Mm-hmm. Great. Here's the money. And, this is what it's going to cost you. And it's a win-win-win for them. It's smart business. And the Reynas the Reynas infuriated me with the whole 3GB deal. Mm-hmm. Right. And that blew my mind. I understand you want to protect your kid. I do. I've got two, right? I've got a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old. And whenever your kid gets cut from a roster, whenever your kid gets denied the part in, a play or a dance or whatever, there's a part of you that wants to go in and just go John Wick,
mm-hmm. Take a flamethrower to the place.
Yeah. But you also have to understand that you have to take a step back, right? If your kid has not been discriminated against, if your kid has not been, and I mean, really look at this and say, okay, my kid has not been singled out as being a bad apple. My kid tried their best. And sometimes it just isn't good enough, right? It's like the line from the movie Deep Impact. God hears all prayers, even if sometimes the answer is no.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what we need to understand. Gio I have no problem with Gio as a player. You see Gio on the field, and remember, I'm an Italian national team fan. Watching Gio on the field, I'm like, man, that kid's, he's got it, right? But Gio has to be strong enough, and this is very hard, to tell mom and dad to back the blank up. Because the 3GB deal where Berhalter has Reina come to the World Cup and tells Gio, look, you're not going to get a ton of playing time. Claudio should have been able to see what Greg was doing, or at least had the stones to ask Greg, right? To sit there and say, Greg, buddy, we've played together for a long time. We're friends. Can you tell me why you told Gio he's not going to get playing time? And if Greg says, Claudio, because if I bring him along and we have injuries or whatever, he's good enough to play. I have no doubt about it. But he's also very young, and the World Cup can be very overwhelming. And to bring him and sort of slowly immerse him into this environment where there's the media scrutiny, where there's the demands, where there's the travel, the sort of very Spartan existence that is going to be here for a month. This is a great opportunity for him to learn and immerse himself in this. So when it is his time to be the man, he's 100% ready. And Claudio could be like, okay, great. I don't like it, but okay. That's not what happened. Instead, Claudio and his wife tried to burn U.S. soccer to the ground. Right? You tried to burn a federation to the ground over your son's playing time. That's why I have beef with the Reinas, right? And that's with mom and dad. Not with Gio. But Gio has to start pulling himself and being just Gio. I'm just Gio. Like he has to have his own I'm Just Ken song. To say, okay, this is who I am.
Superhero still with all of the flowy columns from behind and the Superman punch, and you freeze frame the video and I'm just Gio freeze.
Right. And I think that can be the case, but when your parents tried to burn down a federation, nothing in today's world happens in a vacuum. Right? That's the one thing, like all of us who are in our 40s are like, thank Jesus social media didn't exist when we were kids. Because God help us all. But today's generation doesn't have that luxury. So when something like this happens on the scale that it happens, everyone takes notice. So when Gio's parents show up at Borussia Dortmund's headquarters, right? It's not just, Gio's parents came to visit him and give him some strength and support their boy. No, automatically, rightly or wrongly, the narrative is Gio's parents are meddling. And whether it's true or not, it has a weight, right? It has a weight. And that's not something Dortmund wants. That's not something that a lot of clubs want. They want Gio the player. They don't want the circus. So Gio has to separate himself from the circus. Mom, dad, go back to New York. Please. I'm fine. I'm a big boy. I'll survive. And when I need support and help, I will call you and we'll talk privately on the phone. I don't need somebody reaching out to management. I don't need somebody reaching out to somebody else. I'm gonna make it on my own. So that's the issue I have. I think Fiorentina was interested in Gio. Dell asked if Fiorentina was seriously interested. I think they were. Rocco Camiso, again, being an American, has no problem bringing American players in. Again, everyone saw the numbers that Milan generated because all that went public, what their social media spike was, the shirt sale spike, the level of interest from America in Milan. Every other team sees that and goes, oh, wait a damn minute. And so when you have somebody who was largely raised in America like Rocco Camiso, he understands blah, 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 money. So any amount that they would spend on Gio's salary or any sort of loan fees would be recouped with the insane number of Reina jerseys in Viola. So I think they were seriously interested.
And his new daddy is Matt Turner. Yeah. We got all of that. So also, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we missed while we were gone. I think we're okay. I think we got everything. Oh, what to watch. Hello. Before we go, here's what to watch. Spurs and Brentford at 2:30 from Spurs Stadium. That's on USA Network. ESPN Deportes has La Liga doubleheader. Barcelona, Osasuna, Atletico Madrid, Rayo Vallecano. Deadline show is tomorrow on Peacock with Sky. So February 1st from noon until 7 on Peacock, they're simulcasting the Sky deadline show. 2 to NA tonight, Pumas and Necaxa. Universo simulcasting the Premier League match. DAZN USA Women's Champions League, 3 matches. One at 12:45 involving Lyon, Barca, Benfica, Eintracht Frankfurt, Rosengard at 3. On the Plus, once again, the doubleheader that's on Deportes, but it's on the Plus. German Cup at 2:45 with Hertha Berlin. Belgian Pro League at 3. Golasso Network has had Bahrain and Japan already. An Asian Cup, Iran and Syria underway in the first half. Baraka Central River Plate tonight at 7:30 in the Argentine Primera. And Paramount Plus, same on the Asian Cup. 5 games in the Argentine Primera. Argentinos Juniors at 3. Defensa y Justicia Platense at 3. San Lorenzo's on at 5:15. Racing Clubs at 6. Baraka Central River Plate's at 7:30. Peacock simulcasting the other 2 matches. Running the other 2 matches in the Premier League, Man City, Burnley, Liverpool, Chelsea, and VIX has Pachuca and Atlas at 10 o'clock. Reminder, I think game of the day is Liverpool and Chelsea, unless you just want to continue to watch the madness that is Asia Cup and things like that. Reminder, once again, after the match, I think it's at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon in Athens. 6 to 8, Creature Comforts Brewing in Athens, the post-game show with, I know Maddie will be there, Jason will be there, and we will hope that you will be there too, where we will talk about things with Memphis 901 having come to town and Atlanta United once again filling out the University of Georgia soccer stadium. Quick note on the University of Georgia. We got a notice yesterday that one of the greatest, and I am not being hyperbolic when I say this, one of the greatest sports information director, communication, athletic directors ever in the history of ever is retiring. Claude Felton at the University of Georgia. And Claude has been active with the University of Georgia since the 70s. He's been at it he went from Georgia Southern to Georgia in the late 70s. Tony Barnhart's got a great story up on what's left of SI.com about Claude. If you were to ask anybody in the Southeastern Conference, and frankly, anybody in COSIDA, the organization that is the Sports Information Directors Association, who would be in a Hall of Fame, Claude Felton would be a first ballot Hall of Famer, 100% of the vote. Claude Felton is a man among men. He's a great guy. He's fantastic at what he does with sports information, but he's a tremendous person as well. And to have been in the same circles with Claude as much as we have in our other lives and things like that, I can't say anything. I give the highest praise to Claude Felton, a tremendous gentleman in college football, in addition to a tremendous communicator and someone who is right there for the University of Georgia, right at the forefront of all of their work, and the staff and all the individuals that he has mentored along the way and that are a part of his staff now. Lakos and Hicks and Mobley and all of those folks that I used to hang out with. Claude Felton, man among men, tremendous Hall of Famer, retiring just well-earned retirement, and may every fish you catch be a record setter the next time out when you cast your line. So is there anything else that we forgot before we go?
I don't think so. I don't be problematic in your business dealings.
Yes.
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely true. Great to have Dylan Butler on. Great to have Ian Cameron on. The day before training camp kicks in, February 1st in USL League One for South Georgia Tormenta. And it was, once again, great to catch up with them, and big ups to Noah Schroyer for settling that one before they got to the field on February 1st. So thanks to all of you guys. We'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning. Nico Moreno joining us at 10:30. I think the show will be from Auburn. Might be a date night for me and the boss. So it'll be from a hotel room in Auburn on tomorrow. And then back here on Friday. Once again, high school soccer season starts on the 6th with Peachtree Ridge and Parkview on the Tuesday night throwdown. We'll be there for that from the Big Orange Jungle, and that will kick off our season. We're getting all of our dates squared away. February is pretty much locked in, and we're going to have some fun a lot of the season with high school soccer and hopefully with some other things as we go down the line. And it's going to be a great broadcast season here at SDH, and we might have some announcements coming up in short order. So, Nick, send us home.
Until next time, everybody, don't step on down power lines. Don't be problematic in your business dealings. And if it doesn't apply, scroll on by. Do not let the rage merchants win. And until next time, everyone, obediently yours, Orson Welles.
What he said. What he said. Back at it 9:05 tomorrow morning.